From Bin Laden sponsoring Williams, to Red Bull cheating in their traction control, and did you know that Mercedes' main sponsor Petronas actually has committed war crimes in Sudan? Get ready for the ultimate F1 Iceberg, Part 2. Andrea Moda Formula was a Formula 1 team that competed during the 1992 Formula 1 World Championship. The team was owned by Italian shoe designer Andrea Sassetti, who named the team after his company. The team contested 9 races, but managed to only qualify for 1. For the 1992 season's opening round in South Africa, Sassetti arrived with modified Coloni C4B chassis, intended for drivers Alex Caffey and Enrico Bertaggia. However, the team faced exclusion from the event for failing to pay the required $100,000 deposit for new teams entering the World Championship. Sassetti argued that his team wasn't new, as he had taken over the Coloni team rather than forming a new one. Nevertheless, the FIA remained unmoved, citing Sassetti's failure to purchase Coloni's entry to the championship. Caffey briefly drove in the Thursday familiarization session at Kielme, but did not partake in official sessions. In Mexico, the team's cars were still under construction and did not run. Following criticisms of the team's preparation, both Caffey and Bertaggia were dropped, and Andrea Moda arrived at the Brazilian Grand Prix with Roberto Moreno and Perry McCarthy as drivers. Despite Moreno's competitive run, McCarthy was refused a super license. Subsequently, McCarthy obtained his license but faced car issues in Spain, and Moreno failed to pre-qualify. Bertaggia attempted a return with sponsorship funds, but the FIA blocked further driver changes. At Monaco, McCarthy's car failed in pre-qualifying, while Moreno retired due to engine failure. The team encountered further issues, including engine payment failures, logistical problems in France, and sponsorship withdrawals. By the Belgian Grand Prix, both Andrea Moda cars were slowest in qualifying, failing to secure a race entry. Meanwhile, Sassetti's arrest for alleged forgery further tarnished the team's reputation. Consequently, the FIA expelled Andrea Moda Formula the remainder of the 1992 season, citing violations of championship standards. The team's exclusion from Monza's paddock marked the end of its stint in Formula 1, with the Andrea Moda name later transitioning to kart sponsorship in 1993. Lewis Hamilton's hair loss began in his early 20s, and speculations rose regarding the cause of his premature hair loss. Hamilton himself attributed it to poor hygiene practices and the use of low-quality hair products, including hotel shampoos. He admitted to washing his hair excessively, which can detrimentally affect hair follicles and scalp health. However, the primary reason for Hamilton's hair loss is more likely linked to his family's history of male pattern baldness. His father, Anthony Hamilton, exhibits a notably receding hairline, indicating a genetic predisposition to hair loss. In the late 2010s, rumors circulated regarding Hamilton's hairline miraculously improving. Some speculated that he underwent a hair transplant surgery, particularly when he sported braids and a looser, wavier hairstyle in 2017, which contrasted sharply with his previously thinning hair. In 2019, Hamilton's hair transplant became a topic of national interest after he shared images of his fuller, thicker hair. Despite his claims that proper hair care led to the improvement, many suspect a hair transplant played a role. Hamilton mentioned consulting with a specialist who warned him of imminent baldness if he didn't improve his hair care routine. Although a better hair care regimen and the use of quality products could have contributed to halting his hair loss, the drastic transformation suggests the possibility of a hair transplant, likely performed during the 2010s. Given Hamilton's substantial wealth, the feasibility of him undergoing such a procedure is unquestionable. Since gold leaf cigarettes first adorned the Lotus 49 in 1968, Formula 1 has been synonymous with sponsorship, shaping many iconic team liveries. Historically, teams relied heavily on revenue from alcohol and tobacco advertising until the ban in 2005 prompted a shift towards diversified partnerships, including the emergence of crypto gambling sponsorships. In 2006, Honda acquired their works team, BAR, marking their official return to Formula 1 since departing in 1968. The RA106, their 2006 car, retained BAR's traditional white, black, and red livery, formerly associated with Lucky Strike tobacco until the ban. However, the following year saw a remarkable departure from tradition. The unveiling of the RA107 at the Natural History Museum in London introduced a radical livery featuring an image of Earth floating in space. Notably, the car bore minimal branding, limited to Honda's logo, tire supplier Bridgestone, wheel supplier BBS, and the web address MyEarthDream.com on the rear wing. Honda's campaign aimed to raise awareness of climate change and urged individuals to make environmentally conscious lifestyle changes. Remarkably, all sponsors willingly forewent visibility on the car, making it the first Formula One vehicle in over 3 decades devoid of any sponsorship. The MyEarthDream website invited the public to pledge lifestyle changes or donate to environmental charities in exchange for having their names displayed as pixels, forming the Earth image on the car. Despite the lack of traditional sponsorship, Honda's performance suffered, plummeting from a win and 86 points in 2006 to just 6 points at an 8th place finish in the Constructors' Championship in 2007, even with McLaren's exclusion. Honda received the Green Awards Grand Prix at season's end, yet questions lingered about whether fan donations totaling £90,000 were sufficient to offset the team's environmental impact. In 2008, Honda continued the MyEarthDream campaign with a modified livery, featuring a white base and an extended Earth motif, albeit with limited success, securing 1 podium and 14 points, but finishing 9th in the Constructors' Championship. Honda's abrupt exit from Formula One in 2008 marked the end of the MyEarthDream campaign after just 2 years, leading to the closure of the website. Their successors, Braun GP, made no explicit environmental commitments, but clinched both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, perhaps indicating a shift in priorities. The Caesars Palace Grand Prix was an annual car race held in Las Vegas from 1981 to 1984. In 1981 and 1982, the race was part of the Formula One World Championship and featured a 2.268-mile, 3.650 kilometer, 14-turn Grand Prix layout. Can-Am races once roared through the Stardust International Raceway in the mid to late 1960s until developers bought the circuit, leading to its demolition in 1970. The inception of the Caesars Palace Grand Prix was initially slated as the season's finale on November 2nd, following the US Grand Prix at Watkins Glen. However, with Watkins Glen departing from the schedule after 1980, the Caesars Palace Grand Prix gained significance, prompting heightened efforts from figures like Bernie Ecclestone to ensure the success of the Las Vegas race. The new event marked the year's conclusion, in stark contrast to the Long Beach Grand Prix, a mere 300 miles away, which kicked off the season. Despite its prominent position on the calendar, the Caesars Palace circuit failed to win favor among drivers, primarily due to its flat, repetitive layout, its makeshift location in a parking lot, and the glitzy but distracting backdrop of Las Vegas. Regarded as one of Formula One's least favored circuits, it garnered criticism for its unremarkable design and lack of appeal. The track, constructed in the Caesars Palace Hotel parking lot, offered sufficient width for overtaking maneuvers and ample sand-filled runoff areas, all on a glass-smooth surface. However, its anti-clockwise layout imposed severe strain on drivers' necks, with Nelson Piquet needing 15 minutes to recover from heat exhaustion after clinching his first world championship with a 5th-place finish in 1981. The scorching heat during the 1982 race added to the discomfort, although Michele Alboreto managed to triumph in a Tyrrell. Despite this victory, Formula One bid farewell to Las Vegas after the 1982 race, as the events failed to attract significant crowds, resulting in substantial losses for the hotel. The circuit's legacy remains one of disappointment, with its tight confines and uninspiring atmosphere failing to captivate both drivers and fans alike. Michael Schumacher delivered a remarkable victory at the 1998 British Grand Prix, cementing his status as one of Formula One's greatest drivers. However, this triumph was overshadowed by controversy, making it one of the sport's most tumultuous races in memory. Starting from pole position on a rain-soaked track, Mika Häkkinen initially dominated the race, establishing a commanding lead. Yet deteriorating weather conditions prompted the deployment of the safety car, erasing Häkkinen's advantage. Häkkinen's troubles, including a perilous spin through the gravel, allowed Schumacher to re-enter contention. With just 10 laps remaining, the Ferrari driver surged past Häkkinen to seize the lead. Schumacher's victory seemed assured, but with 3 laps left, he received a 10-second stop-go penalty for overtaking Alex Wurz under the safety car. Unfazed, Schumacher opted to serve the penalty on the final lap, entering the pits and swiftly returning to the track to clinch the win from the pit lane, a feat unheard of in recent history. Adding to the drama, the finish line was positioned before the pit entrance, meaning Schumacher technically crossed the line before pitting. Ferrari contested the penalty's timing and nature, arguing that it was issued too late and lacked clarity. In a surprising turn, the stewards ruled in favor of Ferrari, upholding Schumacher's victory despite McLaren's rightful outrage. In the aftermath, the 3 stewards involved faced consequences for the chaotic handling of the race, losing their licenses amid the fallout from the controversial decision. Cigarette advertisements have been banned from Formula One for over a decade. Since 2006, no car can bear advertisements for cigarettes, tobacco, or tobacco products. Mission Winnow is a clever attempt from Marlboro to put sponsorship on an F1 car, of course, Ferrari. Sponsorship has always been crucial for Ferrari, even footing the bill for Michael Schumacher's salary during his championship-winning years with the team. However, everything changed in 2006 when Formula One banned tobacco advertising, a significant revenue source deeply embedded in the sport. With no more Marlboro branding adorning the Ferraris, Philip Morris, the parent company, devised a workaround known as the barcode. Despite criticism from groups like a British Doctors Association, which labeled it as subliminal advertising for cigarettes, the partnership persisted. Rather than seeking alternative sponsors with fewer ethical concerns, Ferrari continued its association with Philip Morris, extending their deal repeatedly. The arrangement seems mutually beneficial, with Ferrari securing funding for its racing endeavors, while Philip Morris gains visibility through branding like Mission Winnow on the cars. But what exactly is Mission Winnow? Despite a press release attempting to explain, the concept remains elusive. The release delves into the origins of the word winnow, likening it to separating chaff from grain and distinguishing truth from misinformation in an era of information overload. Yet it fails to offer a clear explanation of the initiative's purpose or objectives. But when you read their mission, it all becomes clear. Mission Winnow has a simple goal: drive change by constantly searching for better ways of doing things. And by committing to learning and knowing more, it's easier to make choices that improve the future for everyone. To make this happen, we'll get inside the minds of outstanding innovators and changemakers to see why and how they achieve excellence. From world-leading engineers and scientists to cutting-edge creatives, the people at PMI and our partners at Scuderia Ferrari and Ducati have the know-how to challenge the status quo, drive revolutionary change, and to be champions. They have devoted their lives to finding a better way, and their stories of endeavor and success are inspiring. Mission Winnow is the venue for Philip Morris and its sponsors at Ferrari and Ducati to be champions of tobacco. The FIA-FOTA Dispute was a series of political clashes between the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, FIA, and the now-defunct Formula One Teams Association, FOTA, over proposed changes to the rules and regulations of the 2010 Formula One season. The debate began over the introduction of a budget cap and culminated on the eve of the 2009 British Grand Prix, with the FOTA teams announcing their intention to form their own rival breakaway series. From that point onwards, the dispute was eased to the point at which a new Concord Agreement was signed in August 2009. 7 teams from the Formula One Teams Association Ferrari, BMW Sauber, Toyota, Renault, Braun GP, Red Bull, and Toro Rosso announced their withdrawal from the 2010 championship by not submitting entries. Initially, there was hope for a compromise between the teams and the FIA, as suggested by Bernie Ecclestone. However, on May 15th, the FIA failed to reach an agreement with the teams. During the Monaco Grand Prix weekend, the 10 FOTA teams convened and unanimously agreed to withdraw from the championship by the end of the 2009 season, unless changes were made to the budget cap rules. They opposed the proposed two-tier system and advocated for consistent rules from one season to the next. In contrast, Williams submitted an unconditional entry to the FIA within 3 days, arguing that their sole purpose was to compete in racing, and withdrawal contradicted their identity as a racing team. Consequently, Williams was suspended from FOTA during ongoing negotiations. Similarly, Force India submitted an unconditional entry on June 5th and faced suspension from FOTA as well. Eventually, all remaining FOTA teams submitted unconditional entries for the 2010 season. On the 8th of July, the FOTA group of teams walked out of a meeting with the FIA about the future rules. FOTA were informed that they were not entered for the 2010 season and could therefore have no input on regulatory discussions. It was later announced that plans for a breakaway series were still being pursued. However, on the weekend of the German Grand Prix, FOTA teams expressed confidence in ending the ongoing debate, stating their intentions to negotiate the terms of a new Concord agreement directly with CVC, the company that controls the commercial rights to the sport, with a resolution possibly being found in time for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Later that same day, Bernie Ecclestone announced that he would be involved in the process and vowed to have the sport's future secured, with a new Concord agreement signed within 48 hours, ending the breakaway threat, and on July 15th, it was confirmed that Max Mosley would step down from the FIA presidency. On July 6th, an unnamed team made accusations against the FIA that new teams had been selected on the basis that they had no association with the current manufacturers. On July 12, unsuccessful applicants N Technology filed a legal challenge against the FIA in Paris, claiming they had been informed that the only way to receive an entry for 2010 was to nominate the use of a Cosworth spec engine, when the team felt it stood a real chance of securing a deal with the current engine supplier. The case was heard on October 13th, with the decision released on November 10th, the French courts rejecting N Technology's claims. In the end, the anticipated budget cap rules did not come into effect for the 2010 Formula One season. Consequently, both BMW and Toyota exited the sport, with BMW Sauber rebranding to Sauber and running Ferrari engines, while Toyota's grid slot was eventually taken over by Alfa Romeo Racing in 2018. Among the new teams that joined the grid in 2010, including Team Lotus, Virgin Racing, and HRT Formula One team, none managed to survive beyond the 2010s despite changes in ownership. However, in 2016, Haas F1 team entered the fray, solidifying Formula One's current configuration with 10 teams, a setup that has remained stable since then. In 2020, Formula One teams reached an agreement to implement a new cost cap for the 2021 season, initially set at $175 million. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this figure was reduced to $145 million for 2021. The cost cap is set to decrease further over time, and includes exceptions such as marketing costs, driver salaries, and certain team expenses. The Formula One Technical Regulations Handbook, spanning 178 pages, meticulously outlines guidelines ranging from wheelbase dimensions to ride height to tire pressures. These stringent regulations have contributed to a remarkably tight field spread of less than 2 seconds, a margin narrower than some spec series. In contrast to the present era, where innovation is stifled and novel ideas often face bans, the 1950s witnessed a different landscape in Formula One. During the era's infancy, restrictions were more fluid regarding engine capacities, but engineers enjoyed remarkable freedom in engine configuration, tire selection, and chassis design. With aerodynamics still in its nascent stages, and the majority of circuits offering fast, open layouts, excluding Monaco. Engine power reigns supreme. The loose regulations and limited understanding of aerodynamics resulted in cars bearing little resemblance to their modern counterparts. A prime example is the Mercedes-Benz W196. In the 1930s, Mercedes-Benz engaged in a fierce rivalry with Auto Union, collectively known as the Silver Arrows for their gleaming silver paint, forward-thinking aerodynamics, and substantial funding from an Austrian benefactor. Despite Auto Union's innovative Type C Streamliner, which featured fully enclosed wheels and set a land speed record of 258 miles per hour in 1936, the outbreak of World War II halted European Grand Prix racing. Following the war, Formula One emerged, and in 1950 the World Championship of Drivers began. While Auto Union ceased operations, Mercedes-Benz returned in 1954 with the W196, reminiscent of the Type C Streamliner's enclosed wheels and aerodynamic body. Although the W196 dominated its debut race at Reims, it struggled at high-speed corners, prompting a redesign for subsequent races. The Streamliner, nicknamed the Type Monza, made a triumphant return at the Italian Grand Prix, solidifying Mercedes-Benz's dominance. However, the introduction of regulations in 1961, mandating a minimum weight, roll bar, and banning enclosed wheels, marked the end of such experimental designs. Cooper's T40, introduced in 1955, attempted a similar closed-wheel approach, but subsequent failures discouraged further experimentation. These regulations effectively extinguished any hopes of emulating the Streamliner, signaling a shift towards standardized chassis designs in Formula One. When discussing the shortest careers in Formula One history, names like Nikita Mazepin and Marco Apicella come to mind, with Mazepin lasting just 2 corners in 2021, and Apicella covering a mere 800 meters in 1993. However, neither of these instances compares to the story of Ernst Loof, a somewhat overlooked but highly influential engineer from pre- and post-war Germany. Born in Niendorf in 1907, Loof trained as an automotive engineer in the 1920s, and initially focused on designing and racing motorbikes. In the 1930s, he joined BMW and played a pivotal role in designing the BMW 328, a highly successful sports car renowned for its numerous victories in motor racing, including 2 wins at the prestigious Mille Miglia. Following World War II, Loof co-founded Veritas, where he designed the Meteor and RS models, both of which found use in Formula One and Formula 2 competitions. However, by 1953, Veritas faced financial difficulties, leading to bankruptcy. Despite the setback, Loof continued his engineering work, and also returned to racing, entering his Veritas cars in Formula 2 events. In a remarkable turn of events, Loof made a brief foray into Formula 1 as a privateer in the German Grand Prix at the Nurburgring in 1953. Qualifying 31st out of 32 drivers on a 35-car grid, Loof's race ended abruptly as his car's fuel pump failed, causing him to cover less than 2 meters. This unfortunate incident marked the end of his Formula One career, earning him the distinction of having the shortest tenure in the sport's history. Despite his brief stint in Formula One, Loof's contributions to automotive engineering and racing were significant. Tragically, he passed away from a brain tumor in 1956 at the age of 48, leaving behind a legacy that extends far beyond his fleeting moment on the Grand Prix circuit. During the 2000 Formula One season, Prost Grand Prix faced severe financial difficulties. Despite employing skilled drivers like Gene Alesi and Nick Heidfeld, their poorly developed car, the AP03, failed to secure any points throughout the year. Adding to their woes, Peugeot discontinued their engine program after 7 years, leaving Prost without a power unit for the following season. Additionally, the withdrawal of their title sponsor Gauloises compounded their challenges. However, the team managed to navigate through the winter of 2000 and into 2001. A lifeline appeared when a deal was struck with Ferrari to provide engines, rebranded as Acer, for the new AP04 car. Although showing promise, Financial troubles persisted, leading to a revolving door of drivers throughout 2001. Speculation regarding Prost's financial stability intensified after the season finale in Japan, with rumors of bankruptcy looming. Alain Prost maintained that the team was gearing up for the 2002 season, but ultimately, Prost Grand Prix was liquidated just before the season commenced. However, a surprising turn of events occurred on March 1st, when it was announced that the Prost team would indeed return to the grid, orchestrated by Tom Walkinshaw, owner of struggling Team Arrows. Facilitating this revival was Charles Nickerson, who, through his company Phoenix Finance Ltd., purchased Prost's assets for a reported £2.5 million. Nevertheless, their re-entry faced opposition, notably from Minardi owner Paul Stoddart, who sought to acquire Prost's designs to secure his team's position on the grid and its associated benefits. As tensions simmered, Phoenix Finance encountered numerous adversaries in their bid to enter Formula One. Once the takeover was finalized, attention shifted to the team's driver lineup. Gaston Mazzacane was swiftly confirmed as one driver, with speculation surrounding Tomás Enge and Tarso Marquez for the second seat. Notably, Jos Verstappen's name emerged, potentially as a move to appease him after being dropped by Arrows, in favor of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. It quickly became clear that the team would not race at the first Grand Prix of 2002 in Australia. Bernie Ecclestone explained that Phoenix had only bought the assets of the folded Prost GP team, and not the entry rights. In addition, the purchase had not been completed with adequate time to allow the team to be present in Melbourne. Nevertheless, 2 nose cones were submitted to the scrutineers at the event, but they were rejected. At the next race in Malaysia, Phoenix Grand Prix did show up though. It's rumored that the team were to enter the Grand Prix, but without an up-to-date car. Phoenix arrived on Thursday on a private flight, but the team's equipment was not allowed to leave the cargo storage at the airport due to issues with their paperwork. In the meantime, both Gaston Mazzacane and Tarso Marquez had been spotted at the circuit wandering around, unaware of what was happening. Would they be allowed to drive? The answer would come quickly. The team, consisting of approximately 50 personnel, including the drivers and engineers, and 2 AP04B cars, were prevented from entering the Sepping paddock. While there are no photos of the Phoenix AP04B, there is some information available concerning the details of the car. The car was named the Phoenix Grand Prix AP04B. This was basically the Prost AP04 from 2001. However, the car had the rear end of the Arrows AX3-seater. This was the 3-seater car Arrows had designed a couple of years earlier. Rumors suggested that Chassis 3 was actually a Prost AP05 car, but it is impossible to have this confirmed. Chassis 01 was a Prost AP04B. The cars appear to be painted blue with no sponsor colors or logos. The engine is a tricky one to define. The engines also came from the Arrows AX3-seater, and were labeled as the Arrows T2 F1 V10. These engines had been used by Arrows in their F1 cars in 1998 and 1999, originating from a design by Brian Hart, whose engine company was bought by Walkinshaw and merged into Arrows in the middle of 1997. The tires were supposed to be provided by Bridgestone. However, the Japanese company had already stated in early March that it would be unable to supply Phoenix, and Michelin said the same. So the most likely option at this point was a supply of Avon tires, which Minardi had used a year before to shake down their PS01 car with Christian Albers. The team was made up of approximately 50 employees, with most coming from the former Arrows test team and the folded Prost GP. With them were drivers Tarso Marquez and Gaston Mazzacane. Managing Director Charles Nickerson stayed at the Arrows base at Layfield, where the team were using floor space to prepare the cars. Shortly after failing to enter the Malaysian Grand Prix, the team underwent a name change, rebranding as Dart Grand Prix Team Ltd. The reasons behind the shift remain unclear, although it's worth noting Tom Walkinshaw's prior involvement with a company named Dart in the early 1980s, which specialized in preparing Dunlop racing tires. Despite their name change, the team's attempts to participate in the Brazilian Grand Prix were once again thwarted by the FIA, who reiterated their refusal to allow entry for the entire 2002 season, much to the satisfaction of Paul Stoddart. During this period, there were sightings of Greg Pollock with Tom Walkinshaw, fueling speculation that Pollock, who had recently been replaced as team principal at Bar, could potentially join Phoenix Grand Prix Team Dart as the new team manager. Meanwhile, Charles Nickerson persisted in discussions with the FIA in hopes of securing entry for upcoming races, even contemplating legal action against the FIA to challenge their exclusion from the grid. Amidst these developments, Dart Grand Prix Team Ltd reverted to its original name, Phoenix Grand Prix, though the rationale behind this decision remains obscure. Rumors circulated about Arrows testing the Phoenix AP04B alongside their own activities at Silverstone, with Tomas Enga presumed to be the driver involved. As legal battles ensued, Phoenix Grand Prix took the FIA and FOM to the High Court in London, seeking permission to compete using assets acquired from Prost Grand Prix. However, on May 22, 2002, the court ruled in favor of the FIA, leaving the team facing an uncertain future and a significant legal bill. Charles Nickerson remained non-committal about the team's prospects, while Paul Stoddart welcomed the verdict, anticipating financial relief for Minardi. Following this setback, Phoenix Grand Prix faded from the Formula One scene. Arrows, too, succumbed to financial troubles after a few more races, leading to their collapse following the German Grand Prix. Despite this, their A23 cars found new life under Paul Stoddart's ownership, later serving as the basis for Minardi's PSO4 and Super Aguri's SA05, albeit in modified forms, marking the end of Phoenix Grand Prix's tumultuous journey in Formula One. The Nurburgring, known as the Green Hell, was a legendary yet treacherous circuit on the Formula One calendar, winding through the Eifel Mountains and challenging drivers with its perilous 14-mile stretch. By the late 1960s, the circuit's danger led to driver protests and a temporary move of the German Grand Prix to the Hockenheimring in 1970. When the race returned to Nürburgring, despite safety improvements, Niki Lauda's severe crash in 1976 highlighted ongoing safety issues, prompting the permanent relocation of the German Grand Prix to Hockenheimring. In a bid to retain Formula One, Nürburgring's owners considered alternatives, like the Südschleife, but its hazardous nature led to its closure in 1981. Instead, the state-of-the-art GP Strecke was built, debuting in 1984 with Nürburgring Race of Champions. This event attracted an impressive lineup of 14 Formula One champions, including Jack Brabham, Phil Hill, John Surtees, Danny Helm, Niki Lauda, and James Hunt, showcasing their diverse post-racing careers. Jody Scheckter, the 1979 champion, was enjoying retirement in Monaco and dabbling in broadcasting. Alan Jones, the 1980 champion, was part-time racing in the World Sports Car Championship. Keke Rosberg, the 1982 champion, was in his third season with Williams. Notable absentees included Juan Manuel Fangio, who attended as a Mercedes-Benz ambassador, Jackie Stewart, Emerson Fittipaldi, Mario Andretti, and Nelson Piquet, all engaged in various pursuits. The participants included Alain Prost, Jacques Lafitte, Elio De Angelis, Carlos Reutemann, John Watson, Sterling Moss, Hans Hermann, Klaus Ludwig, Manfred Schurte. Additionally, Ayrton Senna, a rising star at 24, joined despite being relatively unknown, having just begun his Formula One career with Toleman. The race featured identical Mercedes-Benz 190E cars, slightly modified for racing. Alain Prost secured pole position, followed closely by Carlos Reutemann. Ayrton Senna started third and seized the lead at the first corner, demonstrating exceptional skill and professionalism. Niki Lauda qualified 14th due to limited practice. Senna emerged victorious after 12 laps in light rain, narrowly beating Lauda. The top 7 drivers finished within a close margin, showcasing intense competition. Senna's performance earned praise and hinted at his future greatness. setting the stage for the famous Prost-Senna rivalry. Prost, despite difficulties, finished 15th. The race cars, except Senna's, were sold post-race, with his displayed at the Mercedes-Benz Museum. The Nurburgring Race of Champions was a significant event for Formula One, highlighting the allure of equal competition among elite drivers. It underscored the potential for similar events in the future, inviting every living champion alongside current and former talents from various racing disciplines to compete in identical cars, creating thrilling spectacles and celebrating motorsport's rich heritage. James Courtney, an Australian racing driver born in 1980, clinched the World Karting Championship at the youthful age of 17 in 1997. Transitioning to single-seaters, he secured the British Formula Ford Championship in 2000, setting a record for the highest number of victories in a season. Joining the Jaguar Junior team for the British Formula 3 Series in 2001 alongside Andrea Moda, he excelled, winning the opening round and securing 4th place in the championship, outpacing Lauderer by more than 80 points. In 2002, Courtney switched to Carlin Motorsport after departing from Jaguar, demonstrating impressive performance with 11 pole positions, 12 fastest laps, and 4 victories in the initial 13 races. Despite a setback at Brands Hatch where his title rival dominated, Courtney's prowess attracted attention from his former team, Jaguar, inviting him for a test drive at Monza. The test, occurring amidst his contention for the British Formula 3 title, potentially hinted at future opportunities with the team. Unfortunately, during the Monza test, Courtney experienced a severe accident, resulting in a 67G impact and paralysis on one side of his body. Despite significant injuries, including bleeding from his eyes and brain swelling, Courtney remarkably returned to racing within a month, albeit with lingering health issues such as recurring migraines and temporary visual impairment. Though the accident derailed his Formula One aspirations, Courtney persevered, relocating to Japan in 2003, where he triumphed in the All-Japan Formula 3 Championship with an impressive margin of 96 points and 16 wins from 20 races. Subsequently, he competed in Super GT from 2004 to 2005, before returning to Australia in 2006 to join V8 Supercars, where he has enjoyed a successful career, including winning the V8 Supercar title in 2010 and accumulating 14 wins in the series. Despite enduring multiple crashes throughout his career, including a leg injury in 2013 and chest injuries in 2015, Courtney's resilience and determination remain undeterred, highlighting his remarkable longevity in motorsport. Romain Grosjean's attempt to heat up the tires on his Haas during a second safety car at the 2018 Azerbaijani Grand Prix resulted in a serious error in judgment, leading him to crashing into the wall after losing control. Immediately following the incident, Grosjean shifted blame to Sauber driver Marcus Ericcson, stating over the team radio, "I think Ericcson hit us." However, video replays later deny Grosjean's statements, showing him swerving from side to side in an attempt to warm up his tires. It becomes evident that Grosjean lost control solely due to his own actions, with Ericcson being at least 50 meters behind the Haas when it collided with the wall. Grosjean's mistake is characterized as amateurish, and he later expressed apologies to the team. Reflecting on the race where he had started from the back and was running in 6th position, Grosjean lamented the lost opportunity, especially seeing Sergio Perez on the podium, whom he had been competing with. He described the challenging conditions of the race, with fluctuating winds, as well as unpredictable car handling. Offering an explanation for the incident, Grosjean admitted that he was warming up his tires and bumped into a switch that he had moved by 2 positions, and when he hit the brakes, his balance locked reward and made him spin. He didn't implicate Ericcson in any way. Formula One cars have always been renowned for their cutting-edge engineering, pushing the boundaries of technology. Before the widespread adoption of carbon fiber as a chassis material in 1981, most Formula One cars utilized aluminum honeycomb due to its lightweight and robust properties. Surprisingly, one team even crafted a Formula One car out of wood. Engineer Frank Costin, known for his work in aviation, transitioned his expertise in aerodynamics to racing cars in the mid-1950s. He designed the body for the Van Wall VW5, which secured the inaugural Formula One Constructors' Championship in 1958. In the mid-1960s, Costin founded Protos, and was commissioned by Ron Harris to construct a Formula 2 car, opting for plywood as the material. Despite its affordability, accessibility, ease of manipulation, and lightweight nature, plywood lacked the durability of metals and was prone to catching fire. Drawing from the success of the de Havilland Mosquito in World War II, Costin designed a sleek car featuring a distinctive bubble canopy over the cockpit, reminiscent of modern Indy cars' aeroscreen. During the 1967 European Formula 2 season, Harris entered the plywood car with drivers Brian Hart and Pedro Rodriguez. The car's streamlined design and canopy provided exceptional straight-line speed and protection from debris and oil. Hart even set lap records at Hockenheimring and outpaced Jim Clark's Lotus at Ron's. Although Hart and Rodriguez continued racing the plywood car in Formula 2, a major crash involving Rodriguez prompted the team's dissolution. The Protos car never competed again, but a surviving example is now showcased at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. As a child, Derek Warwick was a name I associated primarily with the British Touring Car Championship, where he showcased his skills with Alfa Romeo and Vauxhall, etching his name into the annals of classic racing games like TOCA Touring Car Championship and TOCA 2 Touring Cars. However, his illustrious career had deeper roots in Formula One, where he navigated the challenging circuits throughout the 1980s, earning recognition as one of the sport's greatest drivers never to secure a Grand Prix victory. Warwick's Formula One journey commenced in 1981 with Toleman at the youthful age of 24. Despite the team's early adoption of turbo power, Warwick's debut season was marred by a lackluster car, resulting in a single qualification and no race finishes. The following year proved marginally better, with Warwick failing to qualify only 3 times, but completing only 2 races. Sticking with Toleman for a third year in 1983, Warwick showcased glimpses of potential, with a string of 4 consecutive points finishes, despite ongoing issues with the car's reliability. A breakthrough beckoned in 1984 when Warwick seized a vacancy at Renault, following Prost's departure. Although plagued by mechanical setbacks, Warwick showcased his prowess with 4 podium finishes, outperforming his seasoned teammate Patrick Tambay. However, Warwick's fortunes took a turn in 1985 when offered a seat at Williams, which he declined, paving the way for Nigel Mansell's tenure. Staying with Renault, Warwick endured a challenging season, scoring a mere 5 points, while Tambay scored 2 podium finishes. Meanwhile, Mansell flourished at Williams, positioning himself as a title contender in the following years. Renault's exit from Formula One at the end of 1985 left Warwick seeking a new team, with Lotus offering a potential opportunity for the 1986 season. Yet, Ayrton Senna's influence led to Warwick's proposed move being blocked, setting the stage for a strained relationship between the 2 drivers. Eventually finding a home with Brabham after Elio De Angelis' tragic passing, Warwick's subsequent stints with Arrows and Lotus were met with mixed success, as the teams navigated varying degrees of competitiveness. The specter of missed opportunities loomed large over Warwick's career, with tantalizing what-ifs suggesting potential paths unexplored. Whether Senna's actions were driven by a fear of Warwick's talent, or a desire for a subservient teammate, remains a topic of speculation. Nevertheless, Warwick's presence could have potentially altered the landscape of Formula One, offering formidable competition and reshaping the trajectory of several teams' fortunes. Mercedes' car sponsor Petronas was a participant in the Sudan's war crimes. In June 2010, the European Coalition on Oil in Sudan, ECOS, published a report titled Unpaid Debt, urging Sweden, Austria, and Malaysia to investigate allegations against Petronas, London Petroleum, and OMV for potential complicity in war crimes and crimes against humanity in Block 5A, South Sudan, then Sudan, between 1997 and 2003. The report cited crimes such as indiscriminate attacks on civilians, destruction of shelters, pillaging, unlawful killings, rape, abduction, torture, and forced displacement. During this period, around 12,000 people were killed, and 160,000 were forcibly displaced. Petronas Caragalli oversees SDN BHD, a subsidiary of Petronas, held a 28.5% stake in the consortium operating in Block 5A. In 2003, following public outcry, London Petroleum and OMV sold their interests, with Petronas acquiring London's stake. London Petroleum managed daily operations under the supervision of the Operating Committee, where Petronas was actively involved and is not publicly disassociated from its decisions. Petronas has not publicly addressed allegations of negative impacts or engaged with local communities. The company's participation in the consortium implicates it in the suspicions against top managers. Petronas, owned by the Malaysian state, may thus involve state violations of international law obligations. In October 2021, Sudan's transitional government moved to confiscate Petronas' assets, alleging illegal acquisition under former President Omar al-Bashir. An arrest warrant was issued for Petronas' country manager, prompting the Malaysian government to urge Sudan to honor bilateral treaties. Petronas sought to cancel the warrant and requested arbitration from the World Bank's ICSID. Analysts view Sudan's actions as a shift to attract Western investors, potentially violating international law on asset expropriation without compensation. Continuing on the controversial sponsorships theme, the mid-70s sponsorship of the Williams F1 team by the Bin Laden family stands out and has largely escaped widespread attention. In the 1970s, Sir Frank Williams faced severe financial difficulties with his Williams Grand Prix engineering team. Performance was poor and funding was scarce, leading to dire situations like team members relying on free press buffets for food. The team's survival was in serious doubt. In a desperate bid to save his team, Sir Frank Williams, accompanied by technical director Patrick Head, traveled to the Middle East to seek sponsorship from prominent Saudi businessmen. Their efforts paid off, securing crucial sponsorships from Saudi Airlines and the Al Balad hotel chain, owned by Mohammed bin Laden, Osama bin Laden's father. With his new funding, Williams could continue in motorsport and rebranded the team as the Al Balad Williams F1 team. The financial boost allowed the team to improve its standings in the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. The Saudi Arabian sponsorship was pivotal for Williams' success and enabled the signing of Australian driver Alan Jones in 1979. Jones had an impressive debut season and went on to win the 1980 F1 Drivers' World Championship with the Al Balad Williams team, making the Bin Laden family partly responsible for Williams' first F1 title. Nico Rosberg retired from Formula One just 5 days after defeating Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery, but he continues to influence the sport in unexpected ways. His predictions have become notably off-target, almost like a jinx. At the 2020 Eifel Grand Prix, Rosberg predicted a Bottas finish. The actual result was Ham-Verrick, with Bottas not finishing at all. During UEFA Euro 2020, he predicted Germany would beat England 2-1, and England won 2-0 instead. At the 2021 Monaco Grand Prix, he wished Charles Leclerc good luck after achieving pole position despite crashing in Q3, but Leclerc didn't even start the race. At the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Rosberg, along with fellow Sky Sports F1 pundits Damon Hill and Jenson Button, predicted Hamilton would get pole. Max Verstappen took it instead. During the 2022 FIFA World Cup, Rosberg supported Morocco in their semi-final match against France, who won 2-0. At the 2023 Hungarian Grand Prix, he took a selfie in front of Verstappen's car before qualifying, only for Hamilton to beat Verstappen to pole. Rosberg congratulated Hamilton for his first pole position of the year, only for Hamilton to drop to 4th by turn 1. At the 2023 Italian Grand Prix, Rosberg confidently predicted Verstappen would get pole position, aiming for a record 10th consecutive win, but Verstappen qualified second. The next day, Rosberg took a selfie in front of the Ferrari pit wall with the caption, "Forza Ferrari." Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc started in 1st and 3rd, but finished 3rd and 4th, nearly clashing multiple times. Rosberg's predictions have become a source of amusement and frustration. leading some to wonder if his presence might be a jinx. If you spot Rosberg in the F1 paddock, beware. He's armed with an iPhone 15 and seems to bring bad luck with his predictions. Avoid carrying any equal machinery near him. The 2012 Formula 1 season stands out as a modern classic, notable for featuring 6 former champions and 7 different winners in the first 7 races. Among these, Pastor Maldonado's win at the Spanish Grand Prix was the most unexpected. This race marked the only pole position and victory of his career, a feat he would never replicate, leading to much speculation about his inconsistent performance throughout the season. Maldonado entered Formula 1 in 2011 with the Williams team, backed by sponsorship from the state-owned Venezuelan oil company PDVSA, after winning the GP2 Series championship. His time in GP2 was marked by a blend of speed and recklessness, earning him a reputation for both being fast and accident-prone. This notoriety followed him into F1, where in his rookie season he was involved in numerous crashes, including incidents in the pit lane at Sepang, a collision with Lewis Hamilton in Monaco, spinning off in Canada, and swiping across Hamilton in Belgium. Despite these incidents, he showed competitive pace, closely matching his experienced teammate Rubens Barrichello in an uncompetitive car. Retained by Williams for the 2012 season, Maldonado's new teammate was Bruno Senna, replacing Barrichello. The season began promisingly, with Williams' car showing significant improvements. Maldonado qualified 8th in Australia, but crashed while running 6th on the final lap. He continued to show speed in subsequent races, but faced various issues, including an engine failure in Malaysia while running in 10th, and a puncture-induced spin in Bahrain. Maldonado's unexpected pace at the Spanish Grand Prix led to speculations. One prevalent theory suggested that Bernie Ecclestone had provided Williams with a special set of Pirelli tires as a birthday gift for Frank Williams, influenced by Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. A fire in the Williams garage post-race, which destroyed much of the equipment, further fueled these speculations. Team members offered technical explanations such as improved brake duct design increasing airflow and reducing understeer, but these did not fully account for Maldonado's singular success. His teammate Senna's less impressive performance that weekend added to the mystery, as across the season, Senna was more consistent in scoring points. Maldonado's career, marked by moments of brilliance and frequent mishaps, left him as one of the most polarizing figures in Formula 1 history. His lone win, accounting for a significant portion of his career points, stands out as a unique anomaly in the sport, raising questions about the factors contributing to such an unpredictable victory. The 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix will be remembered as one of the most controversial races in Formula 1 history. After 21 races, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton were tied on points, setting the stage for a dramatic showdown. Despite setbacks at Baku, Silverstone, Hungary, and Sochi, Verstappen had been leading, but Hamilton closed the gap with a powerful engine upgrade in the final rounds. As the race progressed, Hamilton seemed poised to win his 8th title, driving comfortably ahead. Verstappen, despite multiple pit stops and assistance from his teammate Sergio Perez, could not catch Hamilton. This seemingly predictable end was upended by a crash from an unexpected source, Nicholas Latifi. Latifi, who had been competing at the back of the grid, crashed on lap 51, bringing out the safety car. This incident provided Verstappen with a critical opportunity. He pitted for fresh, soft tires, while Hamilton stayed out on his older, hard tires. The race resumed with 1 lap to go, and Verstappen overtook Hamilton to win both the race and the championship in a dramatic final lap. This unexpected turn of events has led to much speculation. Many believe that race control's decision throughout the season were designed to keep the title fight close. Hamilton's errors at Imola, Baku, and Hungary, coupled with uninspired drives in Monaco, Austria, and Turkey, were offset by favorable decisions and a powerful engine upgrade. Verstappen, on the other hand, faced numerous challenges that kept the championship battle alive until the final race. The timing of Latifi's crash was crucial. Had it happened earlier, Mercedes might have pitted Hamilton, allowing him to secure the win. Had it occurred later, the race would have ended behind the safety car, with Hamilton winning. The urgency in getting Latifi past Mick Schumacher seemed inexplicable, especially given Schumacher's older tires and the lack of potential gains in position for Latifi. Latifi's crash and the subsequent safety car period have fueled conspiracy theories. Some suggest that the incident was orchestrated to create a dramatic finish, drawing comparisons to Nelson Piquet Jr.'s deliberate crash in the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. However, these theories remain speculative, with no concrete evidence to support them. So, that's going to do it for today. We hope you like this F1 Iceberg, and if you have any other cases, make sure to drop them in the comments, along with your explanation of them. Like, subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.